what you want to do is you want to hold back a cash reserve as you're operating. Again, for emergencies, unforeseens. And our rule of thumb is $250 per unit per year, what we call replacement reserves. Question number 3, are there enough reserves? Now, Apple's Way, this is the company that bought this Houston property. It's called Apple's Way. They bought this thing in December of 2021, very end of 21. 6 months later, the pool has been reported according to these articles that you can find. You can just Google 3,200 unit foreclosure Houston, and there's several of them out there. Wall Street Journal has a few and as well, but it appears that about 6 months later, the pool had turned green, trash was piling up, and the Houston mayor threatened legal action against them. Now, how did all of these things happen so quickly, 6 months into a deal? Like, obviously, I'm not privy to the details, but it seems to me that they started running out of money within just a few months of their purchase. Now, how in the world is this possible? This is only possible if they didn't have enough cash reserves at purchase. Now, our rule of thumb, when you're purchasing multifamily properties, you should have at least $1,000 per unit in reserves when you buy the property, right? So, 50 units now is you're having, you have $1,000 per unit. So the point is they did not have the cash reserves in place to ride something out. The reason you do it is for kind of things that you don't foresee. So you want to have cash reserves when you go into at closing. And then what you want to do is you want to hold back a cash reserve as you're operating. Again, for emergencies, unforeseens. And our rule of thumb is $250 per unit per year, what we call replacement reserves. And that is basically to build up your cash reserves for emergencies. Now, obviously, if I have to raise more money for cash reserves, that reduces my reduces my purchase price, right? I can't pay as much as the next syndicator who's not doing that. Similar, if I'm not taking $250 per month per year out per unit, then my cash flow is higher and I can pay more. I can overpay, right? So this is an example where you're in your underwriting, you can be more conservative, and you can. So the bottom line is this: you don't ever want to run out of money. That's what happened to this operator. You just don't want to run out of capital, because a lot of things happen, and you can ride them out if you have cash or cash flow coming in. So if you're an LP, these are questions to ask: is how many reserves do you have going into the deal, and what are your replacement reserves, right? And if the operator says, "Well, I don't even know what that is," that again raises the risk level. I'm not saying it's a showstopper, but these are all things in your mind as an investor you're putting together, and you're kind of building in your mind the level of risk in this investment. And if you don't have cash reserves going in it and you're not building up replacement reserves, then the risk is higher.